The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Welcome to Wilfred Watches Podcast, an American podcast about professional wrestling. And in the past 6 months, my show has turned into be kind of an interview chat session with people every week. And we've had wrestlers like TK Cooper, PCO, Eddie Kingston, so many others. But today, I have the queen of interviews. And she's still a new kid on the block, but already running the block, I'd say. Alicia Atout, welcome.
Hello, that was such a lovely intro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was browsing through your YouTube and I was trying to find like, okay, what bands has she gotten into? Let's check it out. And I saw you interviewed like the Antlers, We Are Scientists, Courtney Barnett and others, and I was super impressed by that. And then I was like, awesome. You were like pretty young when you did those. So was it kind of easy for you to get some of these chats, or did you have to be like super persistent and kind of like stick around after the show? Like, how did that go for you?
So everything was pre-set up as far as the ones you named goes. Those were about a year and a half into my interviewing career and my interviewing website, Ambi. So those were pretty much me having connections with, I think for the labels or the bands you mentioned, it would be like Warner Music and Sony Music and Universal Music. So it took a while to kind of get on their radar, for it to kind of be taken seriously since I was so young. But I think once they realized, hey, she has the interview chop, she's going to grow because she is so young, they took a chance on me and I ended up nailing interviews with these really awesome artists. So it's cool you went back and searched through those. Just hearing those names, I'm like, you forget you interview some of these people, you know?
Yeah, like I'm a huge fan of the Antlers, and I was like, holy crap. And there's a lot of really big names that you've heard, that you've got to speak to. And I was really, really impressed because I looked back and it seems like the wrestling discussions have been a little more new to you. So how did that transition go? Because when you go through your YouTube archive, it's like bands, and then boom, there's Colt Cabana and wrestling. And how did that transition kind of go for you?
I like how you chose the word boom when you said Colt's name.
Yeah, it came instinctively, right?
Yeah, right? Very nice. So I ended up doing the music stuff for about 4 years, and it got to the point where my name started to get known for doing interviews. So I decided to take the plunge into wrestling since I've been a wrestling fan since I was a kid. And luckily after my first one, I posted it. And my biggest worry was, am I going to get backlash from my hardcore music fans? They're going to think, what the hell is she doing? Why did she decide to do this? But luckily, there really wasn't any backlash at all. So the interview did so well, I decided to start working for an indie promotion, doing interviews at their promotion, and then just kind of branched out into other jobs and locations and traveling. And now, you know, what I'm doing now, it's now more wrestling than music, funny enough.
Yeah, I noticed that transition. It's like full wrestling now. And we even see you on Impact. We see you on a lot of independent shows and stuff. And it's interesting how you said that. Like, music is its own kind of genre. And then there's like a sub-genres of different types of music. And wrestling's kind of similar. Like, wrestling is a genre, but then there's like all these different subgroups of wrestling. But I would just say to you, like, your attitude is very positive. So I think that smoothed your transition, just in my eyes. I think it's easier to like you because you're just really positive. So just kudos to that. Yeah. So did any wrestlers or even a band ever kind of intimidate you just based on their like status or their persona?
I'm allowed to curse on here, right?
Yeah, if you want to, go for it.
Okay, I was like shitting bricks when I had to interview Metallica. They're one of the biggest names in music and pop culture, in metal. And so when that opportunity came about and my contact said, yes, this interview is firm, you're going to interview them, I was so overwhelmed with excitement and pride and nerves. And now nerves don't kick me as hard, but back then I was 19 when I got that Metallica interview.
Wow.
So Yeah, so it just really made me, I think it hit me, like, what you're doing is right. These bands and their management and the people that represent them want you to sit down with them. You're on the right path, kid. And it hit me really hard and it was emotional. And I remember as soon as he walked into the room, he was so sweet. He was so nice. He had a huge smile on his face, Robert. And the interview was amazing. So that one, though, I was so nervous for, because you never know what kind of person you're going to get. And even if they're known for being a super joyful person, all it takes for them to have a rough day. They come in, they're a little, they have some attitude, and he was not like that at all. He was just wonderful. So that interview I was so scared for, but I had no reason to.
That's the thing. Like, I started this talking about New Japan mostly like 6 months ago, and I have no experience whatsoever, but I totally saw you and many other people, podcasters and a lot of other different people, as inspiration. Like, screw it, just do it, just get a mic and talk. And it's really paid off, even though I still get terrified when I speak to some wrestlers. Like, speaking to Eddie Kingston like 2 weeks ago was terrifying because he's been wrestling as long as I've been around. So that sounds similar to like Metallica for you. Like, they've been doing their craft for as long as you've been alive. So that's pretty wild. So Courtney is somebody on the Patreon that we have set up, patreon.com/WilfredWatches. And she has a question. She says, what advice would you give to aspiring interviewers, whether they be teenage, 35, 55, however many years old? What kind of inspiration or advice would you provide to these people?
Well, a few minutes ago, you were mentioning just do it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Don't get in your head about it. If you have a passion for something, just do it. Don't be afraid to fail, because all it takes is one yes. There was a time where I first started in music 6 years ago, and I got so many no's when it first started, whether it was, oh, we'll add you to a mailing list, as simple as that, or, oh, no, you don't get to interview this band. And all it took was one yes. And that one yes for me when it first started was probably when I interviewed Frank Turner, who's a really big artist in the UK, and he had just came off of playing the Olympics opening ceremony, and his name completely just went massive, and he said, yes, I will do an interview with you. And then people started taking me more seriously. Then I got some much bigger interviews, and all it took was that one yes. So do not be afraid to fail, because if you fail, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means that wasn't your time, and stuff can come. The other thing is just have a positive attitude and treat people the way you want to be treated, because if you come off like a douchebag, no one's going to want to work with you. No one's going to want to support you. And if it is a facade and you're just pretending, a lot of people see through that. So just be yourself, because if you're yourself, then a lot of people, as long as yourself is nice, they'll attach themselves to you, and you'll end up getting not only an amazing fan base, but just an amazing community that you can rely on, go to questions with, and
that's great advice. Yeah.
Become friends.
Yeah, like I would totally back you up on that. Just do it. Just do it. Just who cares? If you get nobody listening to your stuff or nobody views your YouTube, that's fine. Just keep doing it, because eventually if you'll get it worked out right to where somebody will listen, somebody will dig it and share the passion with you. So my friend John, who's also on the Patreon, asks that you are only 23 and he has teenage daughters who check out YouTube frequently, and you are already a role model to some people like his daughter.
Aww.
And I wondered if you have considered the impact you've made already at such a very young age for younger women and young, aspiring interviewists and video, programmers and stuff like that for YouTube and stuff. Like, have you thought about that? Because you have created an impact for a lot of young folks. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you. It kind of shocks me, because I do notice it, because it gets told to me, and it's hard to ignore when someone's telling you, hey, you've impacted my life, or I've changed this, or I've become better, or I've literally had people tell me it goes from one extreme to the other, where it's kind of subtle, and they say, hey, I'm now taking journalism because of you, which is incredible.
Wow.
Or to, hey, I was really going through a rough time, or I had a disease, or I was hospitalized, and I watched your videos and they were the highlight of my day. And to me, that just, like, talking about it right now, it brings tears to my eyes, because knowing that I'm just I guess I'm an adult now, but when I was just a kid behind the camera, doing this as a hobby, and it kind of ricocheted into what it has now, I never thought that. So for me to be able to help people through rough times, or just bring a smile to their face, or they laugh at something stupid I say in an interview, it means the world to me. Because if it weren't for people watching, there's no point in me doing this, because it really is it's not an ego thing. It's just knowing if I can do this and make myself happy and make others happy, then I've got a really cool gig going. So, oh, that's so sweet to say.
Isn't that
I'm
cool?
really happy. Yeah.
I was really
crazy.
glad to get that question because I was like, wow, I wonder if she's even kind of thought about that yet, because you're very young and it's kind of early in your life to reflect on things, but you should take a step back sometimes and say, hey, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not shabby, right?
so on that, there's a lot of Canadians and French Canadians in professional wrestling, and there's a lot of announcers. Have Renee Young now at the broadcast table and stuff. Who did you have an inspiration? Do you have somebody that you kind of model your life after, or like a musician, or somebody in the media that you kind of idolize or model your career after?
Yeah, so there's two different ways I always looked at inspirations and people to model myself after. One, I always try to watch and almost overanalyze people when I watch them to pick up on things I really love that they do, and then maybe little mannerisms of things that I wouldn't do in a professional setting. I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong, but just so I can craft my own style. Mm-hmm. But the other thing to that is then I don't want to watch other people because I want to be an individual. I want to be Alicia Atout and not have anyone else compare me to someone else, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's this weird line that I always try to not cross, where I want to watch people to take inspiration, but then you don't, because you don't want to pick up on something they do, and then you're like, oh shit, that's like their thing. Why am I doing it? So I wouldn't say there's one person. My biggest inspirations are my family, like hands down, because they were the ones who said, when I was that 16-year-old girl, hey, yes, do this. If you don't go to college or university, that's fine. That can be a fallback if need be, and luckily it hasn't had to have been, but they're definitely the ones that support me the most aside from my fans, and they're the ones I always go to for help. So yeah, definitely friends and family. Those are my closest relationships and inspirations.
So what is that school? Do you have a degree in something that we don't know about? What is your backup? I'm curious.
High school.
Oh, okay. like did you take a college course?
No, I applied for a few different colleges and universities here in Toronto. I was accepted to all of the ones I applied to, and then I realized this isn't what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I really don't want to. I'm not saying other people waste money, because obviously college and university can be an incredible thing for people. Mm-hmm. But in my situation, I didn't want to put forth that amount of cash for something I really felt could be self-taught. So I decided not to go. I declined the stuff I was accepted to, or just didn't reply, whatever, I don't remember. And I decided to just go ahead with it, especially because my parents were backing me. And that's probably the best decision I ever made, because isn't that, it's kind of nuts.
It's cool,
and I was
because you at this time you kind of already had something kind of started. You already kind of had the fire burning a little bit. So,
and I was so scared because every friend, every other kid in school, they were all going to university. And I remember I was so scared, like, am I making the wrong decision here? Am I just going to fail? And then it was, the whole don't be afraid to fail thing. I told myself, worst case, I'm that kid who comes into school a year or two later, no big deal at all, and I just get a degree in something. But I wasn't excited about school. I never really have been my whole life. So this just made sense.
And it's really not too late, honestly. I mean, I know nobody cares about me, but I'm 33 and I'm going to college now because I didn't go for so long, and it's like, there's plenty of time for you, so trust me.
And that's exactly it. Mm-hmm. If you ever want to, whether you didn't go to university originally, or let's say that you do have a degree but you have to go back when you're even 40 because you want to fulfill something else, like, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So by no means am I preaching like, oh, university is bad, but in some cases you just don't need it. So or you luck out, or you just are a hustler and you make things work. So yeah, to each their own, really. I'm just glad my path worked out the way it did.
So there's, you've been an Impact, you've been all over the independent scene with so many different programs. But AEW is a name that will not be quiet. They are on the scene. They're building their foundation. They're going to be a major player in the very near future. It looks like within the next 1 to 2 years, probably.
Absolutely.
Are you looking to stay like Kota Ibushi and be a freelancer and just go kill it wherever you are, or are you ready to hunker down with like a big brand if it's right for you?
If the opportunity came about and the terms made sense, I would 100% sign with a bigger promotion for sure. And I've said on many podcasts, on my site, on YouTube, I love the people behind AEW because from day one when I was very small, and not that I'm massive now, I want to be so much bigger than I am now, but when I was like barely anything, those elite guys took such a chance on me, and I'm so thankful for that. So to be able to be a part of something that they're now making, another history making type thing that's just freaking blowing the wrestling world, it's insane. To be a part of something like that and just to get to work with people I really look up to, admire, and love as wrestlers, it'd be crazy. It'd be so cool. So yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to that one bit.
So talking about wrestling, what's your favorite move?
Ooh, move.
Yeah, what's your favorite move that you like? You just have so much joy when you see it happen. Let's just picture MJF getting a move. Which move would it be?
Oh my gosh, I saw him yesterday. Unfortunately, at an Alpha 1
I have another
show.
MJF question later, but first, I'm curious about your move.
Oh my gosh, favorite moves. That's actually I've never been asked that. That's a good question. I'm trying to think.
So I like a good fisherman soup, like a perfect plex. I love a good perfect plex. I love a pile driver, like old school Terry Funk pile driver.
Yeah, those are great.
Those are some of mine. Maybe if that helps you think about.
I think a good DDT.
Yeah, it's like old school Jake the Snake kind of.
Yeah, it looks so gnarly, and I love now how there's so many different adaptations of it. And then cutters. I think now, like, cutters were cool back in the day, but now there's so many different versions of them. Like literally just out of the sky, you see people doing them. Or it's like it's crazy. So I think the reason it took so long to think about that answer is because there are so many moves, and people are so innovative now. So. Man, that's hard. But DDT or some new creative cutter. Like I have to give props to Jake Christ from OVE. Like his Christ cutter is freaking crazy. I love that move. Like I always pop for that. So
and that's the thing I love about moves like that, because it's things like AJ Styles did, like a simple elbow drop, but he adds like a little flair to it, and it's its own thing now. That's
Kairi Sane's elbow. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I got really excited. No. Kairi's elbow is freaking like amazing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I love how these moves evolve. It's pretty crazy. So follow up to that question: would you take one of those bumps?
No. Are you kidding? No. I always get asked, "Will you wrestle? Will you do this or that?" Like, I would not want to take a DDT, and actually, a cutter. I mean, it looks pretty brutal when you watch it, but when you like see the way it's done and stuff, I can maybe take a cutter. I just have to learn how to really sell that baby.
I'm pretty sure you can like really flop around for a while and sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
So another question I just thought of when you said cutter, what was your reaction to the whole Nia Jax Royal Rumble appearance? I thought it was pretty flippin' amazing.
I thought it was really cool. For me, I'm all about just whether you're male or female, just have good wrestlers in the ring, and I think she's pretty cool, and she's definitely developed and gotten so much better even from where she was 6 months ago. So I went from thinking, she pretty much just like, well, what she did for a while was just like drop her leg drop, sit on someone, and then pin them, and I'm like, I'm not excited by that. But she's gotten so much better on the mic. I feel like her athleticism is getting so much better, and as a person just watching her on those like dramas and stuff, I like her. So she's like a no bullshit kind of gal, and I think wrestling needs that, and I thought it was cool just seeing her whip a bunch of guys' butts.
Yeah, let's flip the script. I mean, she can take it and she could also give it, and that's what it's all about. So
exactly.
So let's get to the MJF question, and let's do this quickly so he doesn't get too inflated by this. How does his scarf smell? I imagine it smells like some teenage kind of cologne, like a teenager would wear. Is it really bad, or is it kind of decent?
I try to stay as far away from him. So I think I've had a sniff of that in a while. I actually told him, like, do you ever wash that thing, or do you just have 20? You have 20 of them? Like, how does it work? And he never tells me. So, yeah, I'm sure it stinks, just like his personality.
Perfect answer. Okay, let's move to the next one. So my buddy Luke has a really cool show, Omega Luke Podcast, and he says, what is your favorite or most memorable answer that you've gotten from someone, and who was it? So I guess wrestling or music related.
Okay, there was this one time I interviewed Rosemary. It was the first time I interviewed her. And we were shooting the breeze, and I did this little part of it, like a little game where I started saying words that people called her. So we had crazy, manipulative, demonic, and one of those words was unhinged. And she was supposed to respond off each of them. So I'd say, oh, people think you're crazy, and she'd kind of defend it in a way. And it was a little game. And so when I said unhinged, she turned to me and she just went, like a door? And everyone just laughed so hard, and I'm there interviewing this demon, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, you can't laugh, but it was such a genuine, like, cute answer, and I'm like, this has put me in such a mood. Like, it was so great. So that was I'd probably say that one. That was so memorable. Like a door.
That is solid gold. I mean, she has comedy as a backup, it looks like. So what are some names, some wrestlers that, because you're on the independent scene a lot, you see a lot of local talents, a lot of regional talent. What's one or two names that we should keep tabs on in 2019?
All right, so they're fresh on my brain because I was hanging with them yesterday, but I probably would have said them anyways. Josh Alexander.
Oh,
yeah, awesome. I like that reaction already. He is so insanely talented, known for Canadian strong style, and he's just seriously a force to be reckoned with. Anytime I see him wrestle, he's just so strong, and his determination to just not only get more fit, but just come up with more innovative moves. It's really inspiring. So check out Josh Alexander. There's another guy. His name's Kobe Durst, and he is also Canadian. He is just crazy. Like, he wants to take the most insane bumps you can imagine, and he usually, as long as you're working with the right people, like, ends up not having a scratch on him afterwards. Like, he knows what he's doing, and he's just crazy. He's like a madman to watch. So
awesome. That's
those
fantastic.
two I would definitely say, and they're fresh in my mind because, as I said, I was with them both yesterday. But yeah, they're really great wrestlers.
All right, so last question I have is, Mania weekend's coming up. Where do we expect to see you during Mania weekend?
All right, so Mania weekend, I am going to be at the Destiny Wrestling Show on April 4th. And then on the Friday, Saturday, I'm going to be working for WrestleCon, hosting some events for them each day. And then I'm actually going to be signing for the convention as well. So if you guys happen to be at WrestleCon, find me there. I'm going to have 8x10s, some merch. And even if you guys don't pick something up, I just love saying hey to people. So yeah. I will be there, and then I'm in talks with a few other promotions and to do a few more signings and stuff, but I can't announce it yet. So sweet. I'm gonna be busy every single day. It's gonna be
very cool
for like 4 days straight, and I'm very excited for it.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip the script here. I'm gonna give you the microphone. Do you have any questions for Wilfred?
Okay, so as an interviewer, we always want to go after the people that we've admired since we were little, or we want to interview the people we see on the big screen where we're like, oh my gosh, I just need them on my show. So for you, who is that one where if they gave you that opportunity, you would just lose it completely?
I would absolutely lose it for a couple people. Probably Shinsuke. Because I've been watching New Japan for about 7 years now, so Shinsuke's my boy. I would probably want to have a little freak out session if Kota Ibushi and a translator was with him. We got to speak, but I also fear that I would just be like slammering my words all over the place and like drooling slightly. But those are my two, so Shinsuke and Kota.
All right, as long as they bring like a towel with them, then you're good.
Very cool. Alicia, where can we find you on the interwebs? Because you're in a lot of different places. You have you mentioned your merch and your 8x10 stuff like that. Where can we find you on the interweb?
Yes, on the internet. All you guys have to do is search up Alicia Atout or go to aliciaatout.com. If you hit up my website, you will find links to my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook is facebook.com/Alicia Atout interviews. Both Instagram and Twitter is at Alicia Atout. And YouTube is youtube.com/a music blog. Yeah. And if you guys do go to aliciaatout.com, there's also my merch store. I have a bunch of collaboration t-shirts, whether it's Pro Wrestling Tees, Blackcraft Wrestling. I have 8x10s, pins, stickers. I'm getting some kiss cards coming in very, very soon. So there's a lot of stuff. So if you just follow me, I'm sure you'll see me tweeting about it, because I'm very open with my fans. I write everyone back, as long as your stuff's not weird, you know?
Okay.
Like, I love weird. I'm a weirdo, but just don't cross that line, guys.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, I love saying hey to people. So reach out, give me a follow. I follow fans back, and I'll see you on the interwebs or in person. Come out to a show.
Yeah, WrestleCon, there's so many. She's all over the damn world. It's ridiculous. So go say hey to her.
Trying.
Thank you very much for your time, Alicia. Very much appreciated for taking a few minutes out of your day. And I wish you all the success in 2019 and beyond.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for the fun questions. I really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure.